It is July 27th, 2021. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just as some introduction, I'm Dr. Ed Weiner, and I'm Chairman of the Board of Health. This is my Vice Chair, David McSweeney, and Mary Beth Welch is a member, and also Andrea Sheehan to my left. And virtually, Dr. Wayne Saltzman is attending this meeting. With us also is our Director of Public Health, Susan Luminella, and our Environmental Engineer, Christine Mathis. We're also joined virtually tonight by Burlington Town Council, Jay Tallerman, who is
He's not on yet.
He is not on yet. He will be online. Did I miss anybody? Susan? I don't think so. Approval of minutes, June 22nd, 2021, the regular meeting for that evening.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion to approve by Mr. McSweeney, second by Mary Beth Welch. Are there any discussions, omissions, additions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
And Dr. Saltzman voted aye, so that's a 5-0. We also have minutes from a special meeting on PFAS for June the 22nd, 2021. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mary Beth Welch, second by? Second by Andrea Sheehan. Are there any omissions, additions, corrections? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
So it's 5-0 again with Dr. Saltzman. Citizens' time. Is there anybody here who is not here for an agenda item that would like to speak to the board? I see none. Do we have anybody online?
No.
No, I see no one. Then we'll move on to permits. Tonight's first biological, it's Chairman's report, and I do have some comments. This evening. We as a board are so happy to be again live this evening. And thank you, BCAT, for televising this meeting and for all you do to keep this community so well informed. Now, first things first, I want to congratulate our Director of Public Health, Susan Luminello, on the birth of her first grandchild.
Oh.
Congratulations,
Thank
Grandma.
you.
I also want to acknowledge our professional staff and the board. They've been so busy over the past weeks. Thanks to all of you for your hard work and your commitment to this town. And now this. The COVID pandemic, although with vaccination and precautions, is under control. But this virus will be with us for quite some time. As you're aware, with new variants, many are still getting sick. Hospital admissions are on the rise, and sadly, there are still deaths due to this virus. I know vaccination is a personal choice, but for some, it's become a symbol of their freedoms. But I urge those of you that have not yet been vaccinated to think about what you mean to your families and your friends. They and we in this community want you well and want you alive. The shot works. Please think about becoming vaccinated. The Board of Health is always here to answer your questions. Or just talk about the pandemic and the vaccine. And feel free to call our office anytime. We are here for you. As always, I open my chairman's report for comments from my colleagues, if anyone has any. If none, we will move on to permits. Biological Safety Permit, 147 South Bedford Street, Northeastern University, Building 5.
The camera can see you better.
Now, I'm going to just kind of mention, we are here both remotely and live. And that table with the two chairs, it's the hot seat. We need people to sit there when they address the board or address the group, because that's the way the cameras are set up. It's a new world, and there are new operations, and this is the future of public meetings. So please introduce yourself, because you are being taped for the minutes.
Sure, and thank you. I'm Dr. Jared O'Clair. I'm the director of the Biopharmaceutical Analysis and Training Lab on Northeastern University's Innovation Campus here in Burlington, Mass. Excellent. Oh,
Oh,
And you're going to make a presentation.
I am going to, yes, thank you. All right, perfect. Thanks, Susan.
And
So,
those of you who can't see it, would like to move over so you can see them, you're welcome.
and I'm joined today also by Elizabeth Clark, our Associate Director of Environmental Health and Safety, Steve Brio, the Director of Environmental Health and Safety, and Rachel Spiller in the audience, administration from the university's campus. So I'll give you a quick campus overview, NU and Burlington's IBC, some supporting documents, emergency response and incidents, and open for questions, of course. So the Innovation Campus herself was formed to fit or meet this need: rapid development, prototyping, and transition of technology innovations to industry, government, defense agencies to maintain collaboration. So the Innovation Campus in Burlington is all based on collaborations, and you can see a picture of the campus here on your screen. And today I'll be speaking about where my lab is in Building 5. Next slide, please. Which you can see there.
so I have a message on here that KT is requesting to annotate. Is that someone with you, KT?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, decline that.
What is that thing on the screen? Is that appearing on yours?
I don't know who that's not showing on mine. I don't know what that is.
Interesting.
Is this the correct slide?
Yeah, this is fine. Next, we can go to the next slide, actually. So Building 5. On the next slide.
Okay.
To move on, you have to close that. There you go.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you. So this is a snapshot of Building 5, which is where the Biopharmaceutical Analysis and Training Lab is located, which I will, from henceforth, refer to as Battle, because it's too many words otherwise. So Battle is, so here we go. So we have wet, one back,
I'm
please.
sorry.
Yeah, no worries. We have wet and dry labs. We do government, there's government research and training. So the campus was originally instituted to do cybersecurity and defense type work, and has expanded to life sciences over the last several years. Next slide, please. And I think it's the cornerstone of our life science work at the Innovation Campus in Burlington, but I'm biased, of course, is the Biopharmaceutical Analysis and Training Lab. So Battle is an internationally recognized center of excellence for the Asia Pacific Economic Corporation in biologics, cell and gene therapies, medical devices. And really our mission is both research and training, from protein production through characterization. So we have facilities on site to promote training in biomanufacturing, how you make drugs such as Humira, to how you characterize them and what you do with them. And we recently received a $4.2 $2 million grant from the Mass Life Science Centers to expand Battle to include the manufacturing capabilities that we have there today, which includes bioreactors and tissue culture, so growing cells. And really, it's meant to be a hub for workforce development to bring biotech and biomanufacturing, not only in Cambridge, but outside of Cambridge and to the rest of the communities around, so that we believe where there's a trained workforce, industry shall follow. So that's why we're located outside of the city. Next slide, please. So we've been here before. I probably look familiar to some of you. But the town of Burlington, DPH, we have regulated research. We're looking for a non-exempt rDNA recombinant expression of, so we're looking to do recombinant expression of monoclonal antibodies, or IgGs, in our BSL-2 facility, which is really, again, meant to facilitate the training of the workforce on how to do this. We do have a BSL-2, and there's no pathogens in use at this time. And again, all human materials and human cell lines are at BSL-2. So we do have our own, very own IBC, of which I am the chair. So it's registered with the NIH, Office of Science Policy. We had our inaugural meeting in March of 2021. Back then it was still virtually. There we go. So we meet at least annually, but also on an as-needed basis to review IBC applications from scientists on the campus. And the membership is unchanged. So we have 2 community members. We have the chair, which is me, and another Northeastern scientist and a biosafety officer as part of the IBC. Next slide, please. Also, these supporting documents remain unchanged from our last visit here on March 4th of 2021. So the list of the IBC members is the same. Our biosafety manual is unchanged. The exposure control plan, training, occupational health, and medical surveillance is all the same. Biomedical waste disposal contracts are unchanged, as is pest control, site plans, and risk assessment. Next slide, please. We do have environmental health and safety 24/7 available to us for both, or not just both, for all biosafety and chemical safety, hazardous waste management, and all those things that are applicable to EH&S. Clean Harbors is our lab-related spills and pickup, and we have Donna Dio Environmental Associates contracted to help us with our environmental health and safety plans. So the only thing we changed in our emergency response plan was updating of contact information. So there are no reportable incidents, thankfully. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions for Cliff?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
welcome back.
Thanks.
Nice to see you. And as I always state when Northeastern comes in, you guys are a great corporate community citizen, and appreciate all you do for the town. I think the last time, I think you were here the last time, a couple of months ago.
I was, on Zoom.
Yeah, right. We had that discussion, and maybe this is more of a question for you folks, but also would love to weigh in. We had the discussion, I think it was around Building 3 that's not yet occupied, or you're not doing biochemical. And
Correct.
Is it Building 3 that...
I believe it's Building 3. I don't know the numbers, but yes.
So did that get rectified, or do we have a pathway to solution there? I think we do, right?
They did share the information.
Right.
Yes.
Yes.
And for, and I know it has nothing to do necessarily with this permit, but I just want to make sure that it's set, like we have, if there is a 911 call, we have it charted that we have the appropriate response from Burlington going
Well,
from that.
we have a list of what's stored in
Right.
that barracks building.
Yep.
Or Building 3, and which was submitted by Northeastern after the last meeting.
Okay. All right, great. All right, thanks. That's all the questions I have. Thank you. for
Excellent,
coming back
thanks.
in. Appreciate it.
we have any other questions?
Nope, just what David followed up with, the only changes you said was the contact information.
That's right.
Dr. Saltzman? Did we lose? Do you have any questions?
No questions.
I'll have a couple. First, Elizabeth Clark. Is she here?
She's virtual.
I'm sorry?
Vir-
Okay, I just wanted you, I mentioned your name. I mean, you took the time to dial in. And Stephen Brigio?
I don't see him.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Elizabeth. I just want to acknowledge that Jared, that she's here. And then you use the acronym ICBM. Now, does that have to do with the fact that it was a Nike site? Or does that have a specific, or is that a pun?
Yes, well, funny, I'm the last person to know anything on the Burlington campus, and it stands for the Innovation Campus of Burlington, Mass., but of course it is a play on intercontinental
The
ballistic
missiles. I,
Right.
I wondered.
we've been following this site for at least 30 years. And I gotta say, I've been on the board for more than 30 years, but we've been following the site. So I saw the ICBM. And what does it actually stand for Northeastern?
Innovation Campus, Burlington, Mass.
Thank you. And please introduce your colleague.
Yes, Rachel Spiller from the administration of the ICBM
Very
here in
good.
Burlington.
I want to acknowledge. Did you have anybody else with you? I'm going
That's
to do
it.
the same for Moderna. Okay, great. I have no other questions. You've been here but many times, and if there are
And
no
many more to
questions-
come.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the biological safety permit 147 South Bedford Street, Northeastern University, ICBM, Building 5.
I have a motion by Mr. McSweeney,
I'll second.
second by Mary Beth. All in favor?
Aye.
And Dr. Saltzman, I've heard his aye. It's 5-0-0. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming back in.
Thank you. Let me just get me a little more.
Thank you all.
Thank you for coming. Just wanna get this organized here. Okay, our next permit is Biological Safety Permit 60 Blanchard Road, Moderna.
Steal my pen.
Sure.
Steal my pen.
Could you please introduce yourself for the,
Sure. My name is Eric Rubino. I am a
I'm sorry, your last name, please?
Eric Rubino,
No,
a senior associate of environmental health and safety.
and,
Hello, my name is Jason Ello, the Senior Director of Clinical Manufacturing.
and do you have colleagues with you?
We do. We have John Joyle is on. He is the Vice President of Biological Sciences and the Biosafety Officer too for our IBC.
Thank you very much.
We also have Paul Paldino from Missouri, as we are occupying space at 60 Blanchard for.
Yes. So you're here for a biological safety permit, and you have a presentation?
We do.
They do. And I'm having some technical difficulties, I think, bringing it up. It's taking a while to share. So just
Okay,
give me
just-
a moment.
Thanks. Everybody, we're having a little technical difficulty, so just taking a moment here to get the presentation booted up.
While we're waiting, I can just.
One moment.
also want to thank you for your application. It was my weekend reading.
Oh, there we go, okay.
Great. All right, perfect. Thank you. First, we wanted to thank the board, obviously, for having us here tonight. We are excited about coming to Burlington and, you know, enjoying everything that it has. I drove by outside tonight, and it was nice to see everybody outside, listening to some live music. They were getting rained out a little bit, but it was nice. So thank you again for having us. If you want to go to the next slide, please. So we are Moderna. We were founded in 2010 in Cambridge. We have our main manufacturing operations in Norwood, Massachusetts. We are expanding quite quickly, as you might imagine. And due to that, you know, we are utilizing the clean room on demand model that Azure has over on Blanchard Street, so Blanchard Road, rather. And again, you know, the Burlington facility is owned and operated by Azure. I think you guys have talked with them before. They're multi-tenant. We will be occupying 15 of their clean rooms, and we're very excited to partner with them. We will have roughly 100 employees at the site, split across 2 teams that will occupy multiple shifts of the week with support functions as well. We have a projected occupancy date on here, but obviously it's subject to, you know, all approvals and everything being ready to go. So we're working with Azure, and, you know, we'll work with the town to make sure everything's buttoned up and good for occupancy. If you wouldn't go to the next slide, please. This is kind of a breakdown of our DNA team, which is where we need the BL1 license for, which is why we're here. Myself in the middle there with my manager, who's the head of U.S. manufacturing, Scott Nickerson. And then we have a manager who oversees 2 shifts of multiple associates to manufacture the DNA across 7 days of the week. Next slide, please. Our mission as Moderna is to deliver on the promise of mRNA science to create new generations of transformative medicine for patients. It's essential. We think this mRNA technology provides, obviously I think we've seen it this year with the COVID vaccine, and we're hoping that, you know, we can have an effect with multiple clinical products in both vaccines and infectious disease candidates going down the road. So next slide. Paul, this is more on the Azure side. I don't know if you want to speak to this. You're on mute, Paul.
How about now? Is that better?
We can hear you.
All right, excellent. Good evening, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good night, and thank you again for having us here. So at Azure, all the entrances, the clean rooms, our waste storage area, and our warehouse spaces are all secure and require keycard access in order to enter those spaces. We have CCTVs located throughout the site. All visitors and contractors must sign in at the reception desk, and they must be escorted in the facility at all times. And in order to get that key card, that badge, you must complete all the training, and you will not be allowed to have access prior to that. Next slide. Okay, back to you, Jason.
Actually, I think this is now to Eric with the
Sure.
BL, the biosafety level 1 license.
We'll be working with BL1 level. We're using E. coli. All the lab space and offices are segregated, and lab air consists of outside air, and no air is exchanged in between the clean suites as well. Next slide. This is the floor plan of the facility at 60 Blanchard. I've highlighted the Moderna clean rooms. They're 6 through 20 in blue, and the waste storage room is in the upper right-hand side, highlighted in red. We've also noted our primary evacuation routes and secondary evacuation routes of the facility. And then more importantly, the central corridor in between that you can see in the dashed blue lines, that will be the waste path. So any waste coming out of those clean rooms will follow that path and go to the waste room in that fashion. Next slide. So as part of our infection control, we do provide safety training to all new hires and annually thereafter. So all lab and manufacturing employees do receive bloodborne pathogen training as well, and this is done through our online training system, our LMS, or learning management system. Occupational health services, including any medical surveillance, will be provided through Moderna's Occupational Health Office. Although we are only working with BL1 material, we do offer the hepatitis B vaccine to all of those working in those spaces because they do go through the bloodborne pathogen training. We do have a biosafety manual that is in place as well.
One comment I'll add too is we are transferring stuff from our Norwood facility up here. So all of our employees that are moving for this space are already fully trained in our system and captured. We will have to, and Paul touched on this, be fully trained to have access to their rooms on their safety procedures as well.
So one of the big things that we have in place is the PPE. There will be GMP gowning protocols, so they'll be wearing scrubs, hair netting, frocks, various levels of booties and safety glasses, as well as gloves. This helps protect the employees, contractors, anybody visiting the facility, as well as the product. And general policies in the lab are no eating, drinking, applying cosmetics, or anything like that. Pretty standard lab practices. We adhere to all the Mass Sanitary Code in terms of waste disposal. We have a contract with Stericycle to remove any solid and sharps biological waste. No waste is ever taken outside the labs unless it's sealed and completely packaged and ready for transportation. So they'll be coming out of the clean suites already packaged. Bio-waste procedures have been reviewed and approved by our Institutional Biosafety Committee, or IBC. Because there are no sinks and there's no sewer connection, all liquid waste will be treated with bleach, 10% final solution for 30 minutes, and then that will actually be disposed of as waste through Veolia Environmental. Just our permits, this permit is in progress, of course. We are working on finalizing our chemical inventory so we can provide you with the hazardous materials permitting list. Also, we need to provide any flammables inventory to the Burlington Fire Department as well. We have already obtained our hazardous waste ID and classified as a small quantity generator. Vendors, as I mentioned earlier, Stericycle will be disposing of all our biological waste and sharps. Veolia Environmental any hazardous waste disposal. Occupational health services will be provided by Moderna Health Office. Any fume hood certification, BSCs, that will be performed by Airtest. This is currently in progress. I'm not sure if that's been completed yet, Paul, but Airtest will be the certifiers. And Waltham Pest Control is responsible for pest control services. We met on July 8th. Our IBC met on July 8th. We reviewed 2 projects. Production and purification of recombinant plasmid DNA using E. coli at a small scale and also at a large scale. Essentially, they're the same process, just they're different projects due to the scale. We also approved disinfection practices, waste handling, and disposal procedures. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have you come here at least once at the beginning for full transparency for the community, to give anybody on the board or our professional staff a chance to ask the executives of Moderna questions. We thank you for sending us all that material that you did. And this may be the only time you may have to come before us, and I just want to make sure that you understand that we feel that at least once you should meet the community, and the community should know what's going on. So,
Absolutely.
I'll ask our professional staff, do you have any questions? Please.
Yeah, I do. So maybe Paul can answer this, I'm not sure. So you got your SQG permit. Well, how does that work with the rest of the facility? So there'll be other tenants in that building. What happens if the total amount of hazardous material bumps up into the LQG category? I mean, is it each individual one? How is DEP looking at that?
Right, so we collect all of the waste that's bagged and labeled from all of the clients that occupy our space. And we, when we looked at the clients and added up the total waste that we'd be storing at any one time and generated within the facility, it met the criteria for a small quantity generator. If it were to be over, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So the facility, you mean the facility itself, the Azure facility is SQG?
That's correct.
Out of all the clients, okay.
Yes.
And if it were to go over, then you, as Azure, needs to reapply for that?
That's correct. If we were to go over, we would reapply as a large quantity generator and adhere to all the policies and procedures that are requisite for a large quantity generator.
Does anybody on the board have any questions?
I've been through this.
Yeah, I
Please.
do, Mr. Chair. Welcome to Burlington. Thanks for coming in this evening. I'm excited to have you here. And just a general statement, I can't believe Azure is open not even a year. And they must be at just about full capacity, I think, right? With them coming in town, right?
Will be now.
Yeah.
That is correct.
Yes.
Yeah, unbelievable. So have you used Azure's other facility? I think it's in Waltham.
We have not used their facility, however, we have partnered with them for some of their other services, so we're well aware.
And you have a site in Needham, is that what you said?
Norwood.
Norwood?
Is our main campus.
Is that where so it's your prime, so that's where your office is?
So I guess technically our headquarters are in Cambridge, that's where the
Right.
company was founded. When we expanded to Norwood in 2018, it was to make a clinical facility.
Yep.
That clinical facility has quickly turned into a commercial/clinical facility. And so that is our primary campus, and we continue to operate out of there and build up there as well.
So the folks that are working out of Azure in Burlington, are they primarily, they out of Cambridge?
They're out of the Norwood facility
Out of the Norwood
in some of the early phase clinical groups.
Okay. And the only biological that you're working with is E. coli
E.
currently?
coli, standard.
It's only gonna be E. coli, at least.
Correct.
At least in the short term.
Correct.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, no
Appreciate it.
problem.
Any
Thank you.
questions, Mr. Chair?
Dr. Salzman, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Do the people here have any questions? I'll open it up to the, you've all heard of Moderna. Maybe 5 years ago, nobody here heard of Moderna. You've all heard of Moderna now. Last individual questions. There are no. If there are no questions or other questions, I need a motion to approve the biological safety permit, 60 Blanchard Road, Moderna Incorporated. Do I have
So
a
moved.
motion? I have a motion by Mr. McSweeney. Do I have a second? I have a second from Mary Beth Welch. Any other questions, discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That's 5-0-0. You have your biological safety permit. Thank you for coming. We hope that you'll expand here. We are looking, we're happy to have you here, and thank you for all you do, and thank you for what you did to help this country through the pandemic, and with your development, your research development, and how quickly you moved. So thank you so much.
Thanks for having us, and
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks for coming in. Thanks.
And thank you, Christine,
Yeah,
for all your
it's
help.
nice to meet you in person.
Yes. No.
All right. Okay. Our next agenda item will be a hearing, 243 Fox Hill Road Stormwater Regulations. And I have a couple comments and explanations here. This is for 243 Fox Hill Road. It is a hearing. It's not a trial. as requested by Bob and Kimberly Negron, the owners of this property. This hearing involves a drainage situation, complaints, and a Board of Health order as per a violation of Burlington's regulations for stormwater and runoff management in Section 4. Everyone who would like to speak at this hearing tonight will have a chance to do so. So if you'd like to speak, you will be able to speak tonight. The board will hear testimony and will act to either uphold the violation order, dismiss the violation order, or continue the discussion. Now, the Board of Health's goal is to maintain public health and quality of life within our town, ensuring that all laws and regulations are maintained to protect this community. We have a long record of working with everyone in this town, trying to come up with a just and satisfactory solution with all the issues that we face. We're going to try to work together tonight. I want to maintain order, so let's see if we can work this out this evening. Thank you. I'll turn this over to our environmental engineer, and she can do a presentation.
Sure. So just for introduction, in mid-May, the board received a complaint from neighboring property that there was accumulation of standing water, possibly or likely due to land alterations and grade changes originating from 243 Fox Hill. I visited the site with the Conservation Administrator on May 13th, and next slide shows the location of 243, 241, and 3 Sumner. And the next slide, please. That shows conditions on my initial site visit on 5/13/2021, again with Conservation. At the same time, same date, I received photo documentation from an abutter showing conditions prior to land alteration, and that included some tree clearing, fill and loam addition, and some regrading of the site, and we can walk through those slides.
Can I interrupt for a
Yes.
second? I just have a question. Can you go back to that slide? So is that behind 243?
Yes.
And is there conservation land on the property or abutting the property?
There are not wetlands at this time.
There are not wetlands at this time. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, but to your point, that was looking from 241 Fox Hill and 3 Sumner at the back of
Gotcha.
243.
So whose fence is that? Is that 243?
That's on 243.
It's 243. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So then, in the next few slides, these were the slides provided by Mr. Pucci, who is the abutter at 3 Sumner, and this shows documentation of the trees. This is looking down the side of 3 Sumner and 243 facing Sumner Road. And these were the trees that were largely removed during the project. And then the next slide depicts what is left of the trees at the facility. And then the next slide shows fill that was brought to the site. You can note that there's some grading at the back of that, on the right-hand side of that slide, and that's largely going into 241 with the corner of that fill at 3 Sumner. And then the next slide, this shows the final grading of the fill. And again, it's the corner of the 3 properties.
And just so
Yep.
just to add something here, just of note, this fence was moved, this
Thank you.
white fence. So that's the old location of the fence, and then it was moved out after the fill was added.
Okay, so this are showing the final grading change, And so as you can see, the common side yard where the final loam is, and then the Rapucci side yard, the grades are pretty much the same along the side. They were matched going backwards, but then at the back, in the corner of the three properties, in the second slide, you can see the sort of drop that I'm referring to in that corner. So this was one of the initial flooding situations that was talked about. Again, this was standing water back in April, prior to any of my site visits, because we weren't aware of any complaints at the time.
Is that 243, is, like, where's that?
So
being pumped?
that
Is
one is, again, that red house is 241 Fox Hill, that old-fashioned looking pump
Yeah.
is on 3 Sumner, and that's the back of the fence at 243.
Is the fence along the property line?
Yeah, I think you can see it in a later slide. It goes all the way around the property. So then the next slide is my second site visit on May 1st, and that's depicting, you can barely see 241 Fox Hill through the trees because the foliage has come in, but that's, again, I observed standing water at the two properties, 241 and 3 Sumner, Fox Hill and 3 Sumner. And then these last two slides were taken, one by me on 7/14/21. That was after some serious rain that we had because of the Elsa tropical storm or whatever it was that came through. I don't remember what it was classified as. And then a week later, myself and Susan went out there on 7/21. You can still see standing water, but you can see that it was somewhat receded at that, if you use that pump as a landmark. So I had a conversation in early June with Mr. Negron. We talked about the fact that Phil had been placed to level out their side yards. They wanted to make it larger and safer for their kids to use, and that before the regrading was done, and the fill addition, that the properties at 241, Fox Hill, and 3 Sumner actually were slightly higher than the side yard at 243. So in the past, the natural flow of water was off of those two properties across 243 and into a catch basin on Sumner Road. There was mention by the abutters, Mr. Rapucci and Mrs. Sullivan, that they had noted a drainage structure in the past that existed in the side yard. The Negrons have said that they had no knowledge of that. I did go out there last week and with DPW and noted that when we popped the grid on the catch basin, there was a pipe coming in at an angle, presumably from 243. But I have no DPW has no record of that drainage system, who put it in, when it was put in. It's speculated it was put in sometime many years ago by possibly a prior owner of the property. Anyway, based on the information I had collected through mid-June, I came to the conclusion that there was a violation of the stormwater regulations based on addition of fill and regrading. And that is the last if you want to just flip to the attachments, Susan, please.
Oh,
I'm sorry, it's a separate document. It says attachments 2. That does show when we pop on the catch basin.
Susan, you are looking for?
I'm looking for a picture of the catch basin, is that correct? Okay.
It was issued after the violation letter, so that's why it was not in the first timeline.
we have seen it through.
Yeah,
this,
you have it in the board book.
We have it in.
Yeah.
It's in our book.
You know, we said, there is something, which is kind of interesting, because it's a town catch basin, correct?
It is, but it is a PVC pipe
Coming into,
the town catch basin, correct.
and
And so
there's-
that's the town stormwater sewer system.
okay. Before I speak to anybody else, do you, anything you'd like to add, Susan?
No, unless there's any questions, right now, I think we can.
Can we ask questions just on that presentation?
Just on the presentation, and then we're going to ask for anyone else who'd like to come up, the Negrons.
So, just for the record, do you have the stormwater regulation that they violated that we could add or talk to?
I have
So it's in your, it's in the order letter in your materials,
I didn't see
the
it.
actual section, and then also under the board book, you have all the regulations there as attached, but it is shown in the specific citation
Okay, I
in the
didn't
order
notice
letter.
it.
It's the last paragraph on page 1 of the order letter.
I can read it if you would like.
I can read it in.
Land has been altered, is that the violation?
No, the last paragraph, if you
The
want
last-
the regulation, the regulatory citation.
Yeah, I saw that paragraph. I didn't see the regulation.
It's a Burlington Board of Health Regulations for Stormwater and Runoff Management, Section 4A. All new development and redevelopment projects that includes any activity that has resulted in a land disturbance where the effect of such disturbance has created, in the opinion of the Board of Health and/or its agent, a repeated accumulation of stagnant water or flooding or any other drainage problem, either on the property where the land disturbance has occurred or any other property in the town of Burlington. And the violation, as stated by the environmental engineer that we're gonna discuss, land has been altered and/or disturbed by adding fill and removing a drainage structure causing water accumulation on neighboring properties. Submit and implement a plan prepared by a professional landscaper, engineer, or equivalent to the Board of Health to restore site drainage conditions to those present prior to land alterations.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Okay, any other questions from the group here? These are questions only, okay? I know that people would like to speak, and
Actually, can I ask one more question?
sure.
Are there, so I know that a lot of those homes over in that area have sump pumps. Do any of these properties currently have sump pumps that we know of?
You could say
Um,
one right
Mr. Rapucci does not have a permanent sump pump. I don't, Kevin, do you have Kevin has a sump pump.
Yeah, 243 does.
there. All three then, Christine, is that what you said?
Okay, I'm going to ask that you please state your name for the record. I know we've met earlier.
Yes.
Please state your name.
I tried to go, but I was told this was questions only. Are you asking questions now?
No,
Because if it's beyond the questioning period,
it is,
I raised my hand first, so I should be.
Well, I raised my hand when you asked for questions regarding her presentation, and I do have questions for her.
okay, so let him do the questions then.
One thing too, Mr. Chairman, so it's their hearing, so they're here, they have the right to speak because they are contesting the order letter that was issued against them, so
But it's our complaint, so I feel as though we have just as much right.
You do.
Oh, you will get your
You're
chance
gonna
to speak,
chance
for
to,
sure.
please, you're gonna get your chance. But the complaint is against this family, this group, so they're gonna respond, and then please, you're gonna have all the time you need, I assure you.
I just have one question for you. So you submitted a presentation to us that the board has. Do you want me to bring that up as you're speaking? Or how do you want to proceed with that?
Yes, I think there were, the photographs, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
And
please state your name again, please.
it's Attorney Richard Vita, V-I-T-A, Vita Law Offices, PC.
Okay, and your To your right?
And to my right is Kimberly Negron and her husband Bobby Negron.
Bob
They're
Negron,
the
okay.
owners of 243 Fox Hill Road. Now, Mr. Chairman, I understood that the questions were to be limited to her presentation as opposed to mine. Is that correct?
Well-
Or do you want me to go through everything?
Why don't you go through? And the reason why is that it is you and your clients, that your clients have been served the violation. So why don't you respond to that, and then we will have everybody else who'd like to speak
Surely.
Okay.
But I do have a few questions based on her.
as part of your presentation. You can do that. Now, I know that this is a complicated situation, and I know everybody wants to speak. They will have their chance, and maybe a second time if we need to go back. We need to fully, you, I, the board, everyone needs to fully understand what the issues are, what we feel is the violation, and they are responding to that violation.
So, Ms. Mathis?
Yes.
Yes. So, during your presentation, you gave some testimony about a drain, and a drain was removed. And I want to make clear on the record that you have no personal evidence of a drain. You haven't seen a drain.
I've only seen that pipe coming in at an angle.
So you've seen on the street, at,
I think she said that
on
already.
Sumner
She said
Street.
that.
She said that
She's already said.
She's seen a piece of PVC piping along with Mr. Hayes. In fact, you took Mr. Hayes to that site on July 21st, and that was after it became clear that both the Board of Health as well as the DPW had no records whatsoever with regard to a drain being on the property of 243 Fox Hill Road. In other words, you didn't go down until we showed that there's no evidence of any drain. And then you went to look at a storm drain, looking for some evidence that you want this board to believe it is a drain that was somewhere, some footage away from the property.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, I'm sorry, well, I missed your name, I apologize.
Oh, it's Attorney Vita.
Via. So,
So-
just 2 seconds, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Please, go ahead.
So she is a town employee, right? And she works for the Board of Health, she reports to this board, okay? So she's not telling us anything but the fact. She had already stated that she's not sure if there was a drain there or not. And if you read the violations, it has nothing to do with
because-
violating or removing a drain. It has to do with moving land and stormwater runoff. So if you want to address that, that's fine, or
Well, if there's been a revision of the violation,
There-
it's taken place on the part of the board
you
itself.
have a copy of the
I-
bylaws,
I-
don't you?
I have the bylaws.
Okay, great, perfect,
But I do have the violation,
okay.
which in a significant part reads, if the land has been altered and/or disturbed by adding fill and removing a drainage structure causing water accumulation on neighboring properties.
Right.
That was actually, I guess
So
it's an order.
if we remove the fact that there was, and I'm not just saying hypothetical, if we remove the fact that there was a drainage, there was no drainage structure, and still say there was land moved and there's water impact on the property, would you be satisfied with that?
Well, I am a little bit concerned about the fact that look, the fact that someone is charged with removing a drainage structure is a much more serious charge. It shows some deliberate action by the...
So let's remove that. The issue here is removing the drainage structure, and if we cannot prove, unless we order you to do ground penetrating radar, And that's a possibility to make sure that there was one there. But right now, it's not an issue. The issue is that there is the accumulation of water, and we can just agree upon that. There's an accumulation of water. We're not accusing them of removing a drainage structure. Please.
All right, then.
Can I just add, I just want to add something to that. So they asked us, the town, us being the town, whether or not there was evidence of this drainage structure on their property.
Who asked?
The Negrons.
They asked.
Yeah. So the town doesn't keep records of drainage structures on private property. So it's very reasonable that the town would not have that documentation.
Okay.
Because they just don't keep that. I mean, we have it on
But you know that
public property, but not on private property.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Still in the questions? Or are we in the hearing?
Well, since the violation, the proposed violation, has been provided against them.
But I have a question, and I didn't get to ask my question. You had said, does anyone have a question?
We're still in the hearing section of it.
We're in the hearing section.
Oh, okay, because prior to them taking the table, you asked us, does anyone have a question?
Well, you'll have time to.
You'll
ask
have
the
time to
question.
ask the
Yeah,
question.
for
You
sure.
will have time.
So, Mr. Chairman, it was filed yesterday with the board. I just want to confirm that you have in front of you two documents that were prepared by my office.
I have them, yes?
You have them, and the
Yes,
board
I have.
members
I
have them?
have, I have a motion, I have a Massachusetts law governing reasonable use standard and unclean hands doctrine, and motion to dismiss violation. Are you going to present a presentation, or we're going to get into this?
Well, I guess I'm asking the chair.
I'm asking, why don't you do your presentation? If you
Rather
had,
than get into
and
this.
then we can hear.
Sure.
Let's try to take this stepwise. This is complicated, it's not easy for anybody.
So, what's that? No. You want to? So, the board, I want to make sure that you clearly depict what was done by the Negrons at 243, the manner in which it was done, and how they did their best to make the contour of the land to meet evenly the Sullivan's property and their grade of land. And on the other far end of the property, to meet the Rapucci's property from the side that went there, from their backyard to Sumner Street. There's a grade and a slope so that it was all consistent with that. Now, what occurred in the past, because about 20% of the land that bordered on the corner with the Sullivans and the Rapucci's property, the land was lower, and there were some trees that were there. And from time to time, there was water that had been accumulated when there was created conditions that it would flow, onto the Negrons' property, but never to the street, never to any drain or street, as I believe she referred Christine in her presentation. But there was, because the property was lower, an overflow from the neighbor's property to theirs. They leveled the property, as I said, the best they could. They all knew of what was being done. And they all knew, I mean, we made accommodations with regard to a tree that Mr. Rapucci believed would somehow give him some extra privacy from his porch to the yard. And what has occurred is, as I said, the property is an even grade except for when it comes to the back where the woodland is. Because the woodland property is lower. It's always been lower. And it's probably been continuously getting lower because over the years, the accumulation of water and the leaves and the clippings that were dumped there just creates a slow deepening of that area. And so what's occurring now, even with these rains, is not that water is like flowing from the rear of the Negron property and, you know, going downward into their property. There is no drainage in that way. The water is being fully absorbed by the grass that they planted on their lawn. So the theory or the claim, and this is without any scientific proof, is that somehow that water in the back, with this rainy season we've had for months now, that water shouldn't remain there, that it should be released and continue to be on the property of 243. So in effect, when you look at the violation where it says causing water accumulation on neighbors' properties, there is no evidence that it's causing it because you can't see it. It isn't within 3 feet of the fence. It's all in the portion of their property. It's their property, but they don't utilize it other than to dump. It's a property that, it's not grass. They both, Mr. Rapucci has manicured lawns without question. And also on the Sullivan side, they have a lush back area. But beyond it, there's heavy brush, bushes, trees. And for this period of decades, the Sullivans have dumped grass clippings and leaves into the area beyond the visible site. They've created a condition that should be an independent reason to be cleaned up. And it's getting worse. And it's not getting worse because water from the Negron's property is going there. There is no water flowing there. Yes, you could say, or try to say, because that corner of the back of their property, which is level with the Rapucci's and level with the Sullivans, drops off because that's the sunken wooded area. But there's no spillage of water. It's not, the water isn't up against the land trying to seep onto the Negron's property. It's pooling for other reasons. Poor soil conditions, poor management, forest management, and the dumping, which is a big, big issue on causation. It's a big issue, and it's a factor here that can't be denied. And I wanted to indicate that. So,
Is that your, okay. At this point in time, you've stated your case. And I'll ask if the Negrons have anything to add to that.
Apologize, but I'm going to read from this because I couldn't memorize it
And I'm going to ask for questions and comments from,
now or after.
no, please go ahead. I want to make sure you present your case.
Thank you. First, I would like to say something about the town's stormwater runoff rules and regulations. These rules and regulations are meant to protect not only the safety of our community members, but also our environment. One might even say, as written, they are primarily geared towards builders doing renovations, additions, building brand-new homes, developments, or formal hardscapes. However, our situation that will be presented to you today is not cut and dry or black and white, as the board's environmental engineer believes. In general, rules and regulations are intended for guidance and directions and are not meant to be rigid and absolute. Just like any situation in life, context is crucial and emotional intelligence is essential to ultimately understand the big picture. My husband and I are here today asking you to be open-minded and listen to how the events unfolded so you can make a truly informed decision and decide whether it's in the best interest of the town to use public resources to sort out stormwater drainage issues amongst neighbors, especially when the complainants, both of our neighbors, directly contributed to their very own stormwater drainage issues. Additionally, we feel ordering us to fix a pre-existing condition that was compounded by increased rainfall is both excessive and unjust. My husband and I have lived in our home on Fox Hill Road for over 14 years. We have 3 young children in the school system, and we really love it here. To give you an idea as to the type of people we are the neighbors that will bake cookies to welcome someone new into the neighborhood, or drop a little gift off to congratulate someone from having a new baby. We're the neighbors that love to bring people together and orchestrate neighborhood block parties, pre-COVID, of course. I volunteer regularly at the kids' school when needed and have also thrown fundraisers to help benefit local people in need. Prior to May of 2020, we had a very friendly relationship with the Rapucci's and Mrs. Sullivan. I would say more so with the Rapucci's since we rarely see Teresa nowadays outside our home, now that she's much older. Although if she ever needed anything, even to this day, we are just a phone call away. And the same goes for Connie too. Previously, we happily exchanged Christmas cards with both neighbors and would send well wishes to the Rapucci's on birthdays and anniversaries, and quite frankly, it's sad where our relationship stands today. What I'm about to say is by no means an attack. However, we feel strongly that in this situation, Mr. Rapucci is being an opportunist. Given his past threat to us regarding filing an adverse possession claim on our land, we feel that all of this is a form of retaliation on his part, and it's extremely disheartening. I think both of our neighbors, the complainants, may have a hard time with change and sadly struggle with assuming positive intent by others. Prior to starting any work, like a good citizen, we did our due diligence. After paying a professional to have our land staked and surveyed, I went onto the town website to find out if we needed any permits for the work we're planning on doing. On June 10, 2020, I reached out to the building department to see if we needed a permit to put up a fence. Even though we already had it partially, now that we're going close to property lines, I wanted to see what the requirements were, etc. Andy Ungerson of the building department said we didn't. He also mentioned that we could put up a fence on the property line with no setbacks. However, the department suggested that it be placed a foot or 2 from the property line so we could go on the opposite side if we needed to, which we happily did. On June 25th, I checked in about the trees and I reached back out to Andy, and he said there was no permit required from his office. On June 25th, I also took it upon myself to do a search on the Burlington Town website to see if any permits were required to add soil or dirt, soil or dirt to our yard. In the search results that populated, nothing jumped out to me, and I didn't reach back out to the building department because my husband and I were not literally building or creating any type of formal structure, building, or hardscape that would require such a permit. I created a presentation that contains evidence to support our side of the story and is necessary in understanding the full context of our situation here today. Some of the photos you're going to see are the result of an excessively wet season of rainstorms. The board's Environmental engineer's presentation fails to prevent sufficient evidence and proof that our yard work is in fact the true case of accumulating stormwater on our neighbor's property was a pre-existing condition intermittently.
Christine,
Okay, well, thank you.
the pictures.
They have them.
I thought you were off.
Oh, that's me. You want me to put them up now? I took them down. I'll put them right up again.
And then I would like, after you present, I would like the others to come up.
Well, we have one more, Bob Negron. He won't be long, but
Bob, do you have a?
Yeah, I can go very quickly if you'd like. First, I want to thank you guys for coming here late on a, what is today, Wednesday, Tuesday? What's that? I don't even know. Tuesday night. I definitely appreciate it and hearing us out. It definitely means a lot to us. What I wanted to briefly go through is a timeline that I had written up, which I did this because I feel some of the statements that have been made and some of the things that were said in the emails that we saw aren't 100% accurate. I think they were put in there due to spite and due to resentment. And I'll go through that as I speak to this timeline here. On May 20th.
Let's not make accusations about people. Let's try to keep this to the subject at hand, which is the drainage and situation. And I don't think it has a lot of merit to accuse people of this is why they're doing this. They complained that there was water, and I think we need to stay on that.
And I 100% agree with that, and as I would go through this, it would kind of reiterate the fact, and some of the things I would speak to is that this is an issue, it's a pre-existing issue. And in some of the photos that were shown previously in her presentation, they show certain things. They show a portable sump pump that's been used for years to prevent tons and tons of water in this specific area. So that's, this all kind of plays into, I think, some of these things that are being presented as they're something that's new, which I feel it's not the case.
Okay, go ahead, Jen. Go ahead.
we'll do the pictures after he reads.
So on May 27th of 2020, I notified Mr. Rapucci via email of a land surveyor appointment that I had scheduled due to our desire to remove these trees. We didn't want to do anything without any official type of documentation from a surveyor and not impact land that wasn't ours. And we wanted, obviously, Jack to be aware that we were going to be doing this. As my wife had stated earlier, we had a very good relationship prior to that time. On June 13th of 2020, I met with Jack in person. I told him we were looking to cut down a good amount of trees, but I didn't know the full extent as this was still being discussed with my wife. He understood, but he was obviously very concerned with with him losing the privacy that he's become so accustomed to. On June 25th of 2020, Jack reached out to me via email looking to discuss some questions that he had, as well as wanting a copy of the survey report that we had just obtained. I met with him later that day. I gave him a copy as promised. And during our conversation, he repeated his dissatisfaction with the work we were going to do and begun to pick out specific trees that he wanted to remain in the yard. I told him that we would keep the one tree right where his porch is that my father-in-law had mentioned earlier. However, everything else was going to be removed. He was not satisfied with that or happy with that. On July 6th of 2020, Jack sent me an email requesting we meet again to discuss a couple issues that he had. During this time, he brought up his dissatisfaction, again, of losing his privacy, as well as the possibility of a lawsuit via adverse possession for land he felt was his. I informed him that I'm going to continue to move forward with the work that I had, informed him of, and he was, free to do whatever it was that he felt he needed to do. He responded by stating that, that wasn't the neighborly thing to do, and that he didn't have VEDA money to take this any further. After hearing him say this and other comments about my wife, I informed him I wouldn't be discussing this any further with him, and this is the last time I spoke with him. I'd like to point out that at no point in time did we hear from Jack or Connie regarding water issues occurring after the work was completed. Water has built up at 241 Fox Hill and 3 Sumner as an annual occurrence, which Jack addresses with his portable sump pump, which he's been addressing for years, preventing water from coming onto his land, or further up his land, I should say. And I'm assuming this is why we were never contacted back in December, as some of these photos show that this was a new problem. We feel it was not. Contributing to ongoing water issues, and I guess the sump pump is visible in photos submitted by Jack with a date of 12/27/20. So I believe you guys have that in yours, and I think we might have it in ours as well. Contributing to the ongoing water issues would be the repeated disposal of grass clippings that we've already mentioned, as well as the leaves at 241 Fox Hill. As Jack is no longer able to dispose his clippings and leaves into my yard, which was done previously for the 13 years that we have lived there, they're now being disposed into 241 Fox Hill. And I'd like to reference the photos for 621, which is on the photos that you guys have.
I'm gonna show them.
So you're gonna go through the photos now?
Wait, so let me clarify. So there's two different presentations. There's the one that we had submitted to you guys the other night, and then there's her presentation. So the sump pump pictures, I believe they're in ours as well as in Jack's. So if you keep scrolling down,
What page, do you have the page number?
page number 6.
But I want them to see all of them.
I understand, but they asked about the sump pump, what page that was on.
Okay. Okay, why don't you finish, then we'll go through all the pictures and we can, so we have other people
course.
also. So why don't you
course.
finish?
So that's the visual of the sump pump that I said that's been used for years. So as we mentioned about the leaves and grass clippings, now now everyone's dumping them in 241. And I'd like to reference photos dated 4/6/21, 5/5/21, which were submitted by Mr. Rapucci, which show, these piles of leaves.
What page?
Yep, so on page 9, if you go to page 9. So you see where that pool is, and then right behind that pool, you're seeing a big pile, as we'll call it, that's not from, regular leaves just falling from the woods. It's leaves that have been dumped.
Okay.
Hold on. Yep, and then we've also submitted photos, which we've referenced a couple times, which continue to show this, that there's contributions to this pre-existing water issue. So I'd like to reference the photos dated, there's a couple dates. So the first one would be 10/3/20, which is if you go all the way up to page 1. So that's a picture of me and my son just putting in the wall. So if you're looking, putting in the fence. So right where this area is, if you go maybe 10 feet to the right by looking at
Mr.
this
Negron,
picture.
why don't you go through the presentation rather than jumping around?
Sure,
And let's
sure.
go through the presentation.
Yeah, so that's a great idea. Perfect.
Let's just go through the presentation.
Perfect, that works for me. So if you go to, so this is this picture, right? But there's really, it's hard to see there.
Don't do the pictures, he wants you to do this, and then we'll do the pictures.
I think
That's what he
you were
means.
asking me to do the pictures now, right? To
Yeah, go through the pictures so we can, rather than to jump all around and then have to do it again.
Yeah, that works, that's fine. All right, so again, this is just a
We're
plain
trying to
picture.
get
It's hard to
a
see.
feeling of what's going on. and it's all-
Understood,
It's
understood.
disjointed.
However, if you scroll down to page number 2, that's basically a zoomed-in picture. So to the left of it, you can see my shoulder or arm right there very smallly, but behind that, you're seeing piles of leaves as well as fresh grass clippings that are just laying there piling up, as we mentioned multiple times, contributing to the issue. If you go to the next one on page 3, this is a picture taken on 12/18/2020, which shows large amounts of snow that had just happened during that time. Going over to the next page, you're seeing, this is on 12/26/20. There's no snow on my yard, everything's clear, but you can see in the back that there is that glimmer right there. You can see the pooling, right? That's where I'm going with it, the pooling there. Now, if you go to the next page, this was taken by Jack on 12/27/20. And what you're seeing here is you're seeing frozen water, on top of continuous layer of leaves, which is basically acting as a barrier for any type of drainage to this land, hence a fresh sheet of ice that formed in that area. If you go to the next page, we had already discussed that with regards to the sump pump. Yep. If you go to the next page here, so it says, please note several feet of snow has not melted yet running along the back perimeter. So the point is just to show that on 3/20, we did have snow on our land. And on the next page, on 4/6/21, you're seeing, you can still see portions of the snow that haven't melted in his yard, in addition to the pooled water from the snow that is in process of melting. So our point of showing this is the pictures that were submitted here were to look like it's just rain and this is what's accumulated, but this is an impact of, again, the amount of snow that we had previously gotten and it now all starting to melt and accumulate in his yard. If you go to the next page, we had already discussed that one. That's the pile of brush there that you can see. Yep, we discussed that one. And I'm not sure the purpose of these ones.
Shows how our property is in grade level at 241 Fox Hill Road. So it's not like we started together, like on one side of our home.
Yeah, before.
Level. Like it meets completely, and it kind of basically goes along the line, and then towards the back, it gradually slopes down together until the very end, where our property is a little higher than hers.
If you go to the next page.
11.
Yep, page 11, I'm sorry. You'll see again on the bottom right, just huge brush piles, and this is basically from our property looking over and just taking pictures of the brush. If you go to the next page, you'll see the same thing, just large amounts of brush and leaves that were dumped back there. If you go to the next page, you'll see the same thing. Next page, page 14. So this is a picture of our property line where basically all of our properties meet in this corner back here. The bottom half shows natural leaves and pine needles that have fallen to the ground. And you can see the mulch that's right down the right side. That's Jack's mulch. But everything to the left of that mulch is property of 241. However, the huge leaps of leaves on the top left-hand side, which you can see over in the corner there, is where, yard waste is being dumped by Mr. Rapucci. If you go to the next page, you'll see only a small puddle there, but over to the right and behind the right, you're seeing again, just large piles of leaves and debris. Next page, you're seeing the same thing, dated 7/26/21. Large amounts of leaves back there, and I believe this was after Tropical Storm Ezra, or right before. Okay. Yep, and the next one, it's a picture of Miss Sullivan's backyard while standing on property at 238. And what was this one? Yep, just showing a dry land. And then the next one, same thing, it's just another angle of Miss Sullivan's yard, dated 7/20, which is completely dry and obviously a well-maintained yard.
That's this one, sorry. I was a little ahead of you. This is Mrs. Sullivan's yard, correct?
Yep, correct.
Okay, now the next one.
Yep, and the next one's showing the backyard of Mr. Rapucci, dated 7/22/21, what's showing his yard is now there dry. And on the last page, yep, on page 20, it's just another visual of where constant debris, tree clippings, and yeah, where they're dumped, which I've mentioned multiple times.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you for your presentation. I know there are other people who want to speak now, because if you could please take your seats, because we're sort of stuck with the problem where the televising
No worries.
requires
I got you.
people to be. Would you like to speak first?
If you could all sign in too, once you go up there, please.
Can I ask the Negrones one question, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Mr. Negron, just one question.
Sure.
So I think, can I summarize by saying what you're stating is that there was already a water problem that existed prior to your grading the property? Is that what you're stating?
Correct.
Would you also state that you grading the property didn't make it worse?
I'm sorry.
In your opinion,
I didn't hear the question. I was paying attention to that.
in your opinion,
Yeah.
are you saying that you changing the grade of the property didn't make it worse?
No, I don't believe it did, and I go back to the reasons for a portable sump pump back there. This has always been an issue, and the sump pump would take care of it, but I
Did
think
you
there's
have
other
water in
reasons.
your property prior to grading?
We would have water runoff, as he initially stated, that would, build up in their land and somewhat run down into our
Thank you.
land.
Thank you.
You got it, you're welcome.
Please, thank you so much for your presentation.
Could you also sign in, please, on the sheet?
You can, I don't know, if you want to push it, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah, we just need your, please print so we have a record of. Thank you very much.
My sister Sarah, I'm Judy Sullivan. This
Okay,
is,
Judy Sullivan, and you are?
I'm Sarah Sullivan.
Brian Sullivan.
Brian, thank you.
And your address, please?
241 Fox Hill Road.
I live at the Jersey Shore, so
I live in Chelmsford, but a resident of 241 for a long time.
My mom is the owner of the house,
Gotcha.
Teresa Sullivan. She's 92.
she
And
wanted to come here tonight in the worst way, but she is waging her battles.
Sure.
In regards to the drain, I thought I might be able to clear it up. My sister's going to do the most of the presentation. The drain, just so you know, I didn't always live at 241. I'm back and kind of watching out for my mom, but when we were kids, my mom and dad bought the house in 1964. And it was the last house on the street to get sold, probably because it was a model house and the wetlands that it abutted. But the drain situation was a problem with the flooding. And the Hayeses were the owners of the
243.
Negron's house. And so there was a lot of back and forth with kids playing. We do remember the drain. We're able to reach the adult Hayeses to have them say that there's a drain. And I think the Patties across the street are still there, and they also remember the drain. And we saw the drain when we were kids.
Drain was there. I remember, sorry to interrupt, a metal grate in the backyard. And it's so vague because I was so young, but I played there a lot, and I remember thinking how weird it was that something like that was in the middle of the backyard. And I also remember in the area, for clarification, 243, you actually had to walk up a little bit of an incline because the property was actually always higher. In the front of the houses, it's even. But in the back, you had to walk up a little bit of a hill.
And then where they're talking about the slope down, that was at the very edge of the yard. And the slope down, here I'm hijacking your, sorry. The slope down was at the edge of the yard, and there was a little, what I think is a catch basin. I'm not really sure the terminology of everything. And I remember as a girl growing up cutting through there and seeing it and thinking, huh, that's kind of cool.
Well,
I was 12 at the time, and I remember the discussion because the town was involved with it. And there was a problem in my young mind, hearing adults talk about it, with attaching a pipe to a town drain. And a lot of problems, a lot of discussions went back and forth about attaching that pipe because.
Unfortunately, we have no records.
Yeah, but at any rate.
But we could get in touch with the Hayeses and the McCarrons.
Yeah, who
the
could tell you
former owners who
that there were,
would have seen it too.
there were drains.
So do you have questions first for us and for the Negrons?
I don't know, well, I don't have questions yet. I do have a couple of things I wanted to be sure to say. Having grown up in the neighborhood and it was brand new at the time, there were children all over the place, every house having anywhere from 3 to 6 kids. And so we all ran through each other's yards. We all knew the lay of the land. And one of my best friends lived down at the end of what was the end of Sumner Street. And so I routinely cut through the woods to get to her house, for whatever reason. I didn't go through ponds to do it. There wasn't water there. And there probably wasn't water there because it was being drained off into the street next to what was Hayes's. But long story short, at the beginning of the year, when I would talk on the phone with my mother, she would say, I don't know why, but it seems like there's water in the backyard. I can't really see it for sure, and I'm too afraid to go down there because I'm afraid I'll fall. So because we were in pandemic, we weren't able to get there until Mother's Day weekend. And she mentioned the water again. And so I went down to the end of the backyard, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And that's when I met Jack, and he came over to speak to me, and he explained that this had been going on for the last several months. It had never been like that before. And, you know, he's an engineer, I'm not, but he reminded me of those drains and the fact that they were, the ground is not even with 241. It's substantially several feet higher than 241. And so all the surface water has nowhere to go but down, and it's going down to the lower properties because it's not being funneled anymore out into the street drain, if you ask me. And my question is, this situation is new in that it's in the last several months. I think it began right after Christmas time. But we have a situation now where we have a swamp in the back, which is going to be a breeding ground for mosquitoes. And the forestation is going to be destroyed if we don't clear it up. And as far as the leaves, and I don't believe there's grass clippings, but maybe there are, leaves. I think Mr. Rapucci puts his grass clippings there, right?
Oh, okay. I didn't know about that. But leaves are in woods, so I'm not really sure what the claim is about leaves being in the woods. That's where they're dumped. That's a happy place for them to be.
Well, for clarification, it's been 50 years?
Yeah.
50 years?
Maybe more.
The leaves have been put there, and we've never had this problem until the land at the neighbors was elevated with the new fence. So if we were to go in, and which we could easily do, and get a dump truck and take all those leaves out and get rid of them, there is no doubt in my mind that we would still have a lake out there when it rains. So I just offer that we haven't had the problem before, and all of a sudden, the land is elevated and we're having the problem. What I wish that we were able to do is just talk it over and come to some kind of resolution, because I understand it would just be about $3,000 to fix it. But,
So let me ask a question, real quick. You ran around there 50 years ago, you know, and things have changed with global warming. When was the first time you saw it wet?
Mother's Day of this year.
Before that, when was the last time you were back there?
Oh, I go back all the time and do yard work, and I put stuff back there. My,
grandkids play there.
yeah, my son and my nephew ran over to the well in his yard and tried to pump it and see if water would come out. They didn't go through water.
Where does your son pump leak? It sounds like all three have a sump
My
pump.
mother's, no.
I'm
his
sorry, I
pump
thought
is-
they said all three have a sump pump.
Everybody in the neighborhood has pretty
a
much,
sump-
has a sump,
pump,
yeah.
okay.
It's because
But
we're.
not back there, not back in the wetlands
Who
area.
had a sump? Did
My
you?
mother's sump pump is in her
And
house,
where does it drain to?
out on the side of the yard,
And the question is, there was,
not near the water.
we have a picture of a sump pump back there.
That's Mr. Rapucci's.
Mr.
And that's a portable pump.
And your mom's drains into the ground, underground?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, if I can offer a suggestion, first I want to thank the board for the leadership during COVID crisis.
Thank you.
It should be said, and congratulations on your.
That was easy compared to this.
So,
Gonna
as,
say that, Ed.
as one of the prime caretakers for the house all these years, including, you know, since I moved out of the house, I can tell you that in my vivid recollection, there actually was, way back in the beginning, a drainage ditch that went the entire back of the property, and over time, because, you know, dirt, you know, collects, it fills in that dirt, that ditch rather. So there was a management system back there at that time. I can also tell you that it's my vivid recollection that there never has been flooding the way it has been this past year. It has not been an issue. While that ground has been boggy in that back corner, it has been nowhere near what we have seen evident over the past year. Now, personally, the fence is not to blame. The blame is the removal of the trees and the filling in of that area so that drainage system could no longer work. The reason why it was there is because if you look geographically, you've got a very large hill right behind that property, Beaverbrook Hill. I'm sure everybody knows that hill. Well, all that water goes down to the lowest point, and that happens to be right in those yards. So that ditch right there was a valuable part of the drainage for those properties. As a matter of fact, if you go next door to 241, I'm not sure who lives there now, it used to be the Perticisi's yard. We used to joke that they would, every spring, they would have a huge lake in their entire backyard. We called it Lake Perticisi, just for that simple matter, that water coming down that hill would go right into their backyard.
But we never, and 241 is up a little higher than the Perticisi land, just the same as what I think of as the Hayes' land being up higher than 241.
Right.
So it's, you know, showing pictures of lawns that no one is saying ever had ponding on them is, I mean, no offense to anybody, but that's not what we're here about. We're here about the water in the woods. But yeah, we never had any water like this,
So
ever.
one of the real worries that I have is, apart from the aforementioned mosquito issue, which is going to be heavily apparent, you know, this summer and next summer and future summers, but also in the spring when we have that period of time when the ground is frozen in ice, but yet we get a rainstorm on top of that, and the water has no place to go,
that's going to create a very bad situation for the neighboring properties. Now, you know, the Negrons have every right to put a fence on their property. I don't think anybody's saying that, and nobody has any ill will with the Negrons. It's just the fact we're here to solve this water issue. And that water issue, it can be easily solved, like my sister said, for a small amount of money. The drainage system was clearly there. As, you know, it might be related to that issue that went into the storm sewer, that pipe. I don't know. I'm not an engineer.
It did. The Patties across the street have the exact same thing.
Right.
They were twins until it changed.
So
So
it's,
my mom is on a very tiny fixed income. And she can't afford to fix it, nor could she go on someone else's land and fix it. She has nothing she can do. And to sell the house, it's gonna really affect, you know, her sale price.
I'm very curious, and probably this is not the place to ask, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Where did you come up with a solution for the situation? Did you have a professional come in?
Actually, he showed up. Was out to lunch, and I came back, and he's in the driveway. And I don't know why he was there, and he starts telling me all this. And he's a very nice guy, and he talked a lot, and he said that he did this for a living and had worked with the town before.
It was Joe Pandolfo.
Oh, okay. He showed up out of the blue.
Well, no, I talked to him on the phone.
Oh.
That's why he went.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Thanks for
much.
coming in. Anybody else? Rapucci?
Please come up. Your wife is welcome too. Okay. Please, Mr. Rapucci, would you sign in?
Absolutely.
I did it backwards, okay. Okay. Few points. I don't even know where to start. The drain that was covered was the low point in the yard, and it collected water in the area. There are a lot of underground springs in that area, it's well known. And this is one of the reasons that everyone has sump pumps around there. There's a ledge, water flows. The water from 241 flowed in that direction as well. And then it was alleviated through the drain into the catch basin. It was my understanding from another neighbor that it happened to his home as well on Fox Hill Road shortly after he moved in, which was 1964. And he called the town and said, I have a flooding problem. The contractor had gone. The town came down. They said, we can put a drain in. Now, I have to assume, it's an assumption, that when they put this drain in, catch basin, to catch the water and put it into the drain system, they did the other side as well. There's no real documentation of that, but at any rate. With regard to finding out where the catch basin is, it would be very simple to figure out with some cooperation with the DPW to come in with a snake of sorts, stick it down as far as it goes, come up with the dimension, transpose that onto the property, and you're within probably a few feet of where the original drain was.
I'm not sure, I understand.
Okay.
That may be a solution.
Yeah, okay.
At the town. However, what we need to find out is the situation, when did you realize there's a problem?
Okay.
And have you with your, and I'm gonna ask you with your, all of the, your dumping there of organic material, have you caused part of the problem?
Absolutely not. We did put leaves and we did put grass clippings, and this all breaks down, okay? By comparison, we're trying to equate all of this water, that this all started, the first time I put a pump in, the first time was on December 27th, thereabouts. We had warm weather, rain, melting snow, and I looked out of my backyard and it was totally flooded. It was beyond comprehension. I'd never seen anything like it in my life. I borrowed a pump, first time ever. It's a portable pump. And I calculated the time and the gallons per hour on the pump, about 14,800 gallons of water out of that area. And that's the picture that you saw with the ice collapsing. And I said, wow, now that that's done, the problem is alleviated. It's because everything had melted off and the ground was frozen. So that's what I figured it was all about. Fast forward to another rainstorm. Anyway, 3 times I pumped out into the spring. And it got to be an awful lot of work. I said, this is absolutely absurd. At one point, I had absolutely zero access to my backyard at all without boots. And this is, we've been there more than 42 years. This has never, ever happened. At the corner where the 3 lots are, there's always been a low spot, and there is some water there, and when it rains, it builds up, but then it drains down, and that's simple as that. That's it. It goes away. 3 times, and now, you saw the pictures, I have to assume, that I took, and Ms. Mathis took as well. And this is an anomaly. This is not a standard. It had never, ever, ever happened before. In fact, the last time this happened, prior to that, where that pitcher pump is with the granite blocks, I had spread a bunch of red mulch because I do it every year. The rain came along, puddled it all up, and it took it and spread it all over the place in both directions and washed it away. Had that been a normal occurrence, it would have been ludicrous for me to spend the time and the money to do that. Yes or no? To me, it made sense. Anyway, when Bob Negron said he was going to cut the trees down and then fill in the land, I said, you must remember there is a drain there that he is aware of, and we had both seen together previously. I said, if you plug up the drain, this is going to become an issue. Quote unquote, I don't care. He filled it in. Now you're talking about a few bags of leaves over the years in here. They brought in the equivalent of 300 yards, in excess of 29 truckloads of fill that was spread around because of this land was shaped like this. Then they topped it off with 80 yards of loam and leveled it off. So now, here's all of this water that normally goes down the drain. It's got no way to go. Where it does leak out is in the corner of the fence where it meets my land, his land, and Mrs. Sullivan's land. And you can see a path of the water, not only there, towards, when it gets close to the fence, beneath it, there are a lot of rock. And that's just the way the land was shaped. So it drains down and it goes in there and floods.
I'm just curious.
Sure.
We're talking about just water, but I'm just curious about, I keep hearing about this drain and I don't know where it was. I have no idea. There's no record. I'm just curious, your recollection, or how close was that drain to the water that is sitting there now?
I don't know, 40 feet away?
40 feet away.
Yep. But it's in the low area. The drain was in the low area.
It's no longer a low area there.
No, sir, not at all. This is the problem. Now, the potential fix from a contractor that seems to know would be to put a pipe along the length of the fence with a T to collect the water and then drain it into the catch basin that's buried. Problem alleviated. And that was done from a comment was made by a professional contractor.
If the town will allow that, I don't know.
Well, the drain was there to collect the water initially. So to just direct it to that, maybe the town has to make that decision. I don't know. But to say that I've been pumping that out regularly forever, that's a fallacy. Absolutely, without a doubt. The first time was December 27th. The other two dates I don't recall. It was a lot of work to do that from me, okay?
Thank you.
And anyway, so here we are, flooded out, and hope we can get some sort of a resolution here.
So do I.
Yep, me as well. Thank you.
Hold, I want to see, does anybody else who would like to speak first? You are, sir?
I am Kevin Rumsey. I live at 5 Sumner Street.
Okay.
And I'd like
What's your
to
last name, sir? I'm sorry.
Rumsey, R-U-M-S-E-Y. I think I'm not in the butter, obviously, to the group here. I just wanted to point out a couple of facts. I'm going to be trademarked by Traveling Sump Pump when I leave here tonight because I'm going to potentially make some money. Anyway, I do have a sump pump. I live at 5 Sumner. I just was, since I would say around October, November, I've noticed the buildup of water. On December, on Christmas Day, we had what, I think we had.
Where is
several
your
months.
house in relationship to,
So we have 243 in the corner of Sumner and Fox Hill. And then we have 3 Sumner. I'm 5 Sumner as we travel up the hill. So on Christmas Day, we had massive amounts of rain and the ground was frozen. Miss Sullivan's son had just mentioned that. My basement actually flooded. I ended up pulling a insurance claim. The insurance company sends, I guess, a gentleman that comes and inspects your sump pump to make sure, it was actually working properly. It obviously wasn't. He just said it was for a lack of use. So that was, I just ironically timed based off of how much water there has been. And then every once in a while, sometimes in the spring, every other year or something like that, I would pump out my backyard because my sump pump is pumping behind me, and it was supposed to, recycling water over and over and over and over again. If I just pumped it to the street where it would end up into the town basin, I would alleviate that problem. But I have never seen standing water in my backyard since May of '06, when we essentially had that, people refer to it as the Mother's Day storm. And we, had, again, significant amounts of water, and for, 5-6 days in a row.
so are you uphill from
Yes.
243?
Correct. And again, I am taking probably some groundwater coming down the hill, like we've talked about a few times, and.
So you're
also-
not saying that 243 had any impact on your property?
Oh, no, I think it does. Because as Mr. Rapucci was just saying, how he couldn't get out to his backyard, it's now traveling from 243 behind 3 Sumner onto 5 Sumner. So the mulch that he was just talking about is actually floating in my backyard.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Vida, did I get the name right? I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, Mr. Vita, I don't know if you wanted, there is some people online, I don't know
Oh, I'm
if you
sorry.
want to check if
I'm
they
sorry, I
want
will
to say
get you,
something
I didn't
first.
realize that.
So if there's anybody online that wants to speak, you can unmute yourself and let us know. So I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay, when you're focusing on just people who are here, you sometimes forget. It's a new world, that there are people, and I can't see anybody who's online because our monitor doesn't show that. So I do apologize. If you'd like to speak, please unmute yourself. I can't see you. Okay, Mr. Vito, one more chance. Quickly, and then we need to talk about this as a, please come over. We need you to be recorded. You need to be.
Surely. Well, one of the Sullivan ladies testified that it was Mother's Day when they were startled the first time that they had seen the water in the back of the property. Now, you have photographs, you got lots of photographs. You got photographs that were submitted by the staff and our photographs. And you can see clearly from the dates that that wasn't an accurate statement, that there's been pooling, whether from the wintertime, there's been water collected there. And you could see from the photographs that the Negron submitted, and it is dry today, yet they're telling you like they're living in this pond. So what I'm saying is, it's a condition that does drain, it comes and it goes. I don't say it's perfect, that I would want it, that I wouldn't do something to correct it, but I do want to call your attention when you hear the testimony to look at the photographs, and it doesn't comport with what they said.
Thank you, Mr.
Now, the last thing, and I won't belabor it because I know you have, I made that memorandum very brief, but I didn't want to bore you with too much law. But you will know that the courts do say that these regulations and conditions, they have to be weighed by the board. It isn't just literal verbatim. It's a matter of degree, it's a matter of impact, what areas, was it intentional, was it not? And there's a whole set of factors that.
Yes. Is Mr. Tallerman on the line?
Yes, he is.
Could you comment on that, Mr. Tallerman?
Yeah, so, and good evening. I've been following along. So the regulations are perfectly legal. So the doctrines and some of the legal theories advanced in the two memoranda that I saw from Attorney Vita aren't quite applicable to this current situation. There's no question that the Board of Health has the authority to regulate stormwater and alterations to property that might cause pooling of water. That is beyond dispute. So the only question, I think, for the board is evaluation of the evidence that's before it, assessment of credibility, deciding which facts are more accurate, and determining this issue on a preponderance of the evidence, which is a more likely than not standard. It's a 51% standard as to what you think happened. And I don't think that it's so much a matter of necessarily intention. I don't think that the board has to find, if it chooses to find this way, that the property owner purposely was trying to alter stormwater. I think you just have to look at their acts and whether or not the acts that they undertook had the result of altering stormwater. Now, again, I think there's good facts presented on both sides of this, and the board has some work to do, but I think that that's all that's before you. The other legal doctrines are, to me, that are advanced by Attorney Vita aren't particularly relevant. There are standards that are relevant, substantial evidence and arbitrary and capricious, for example, that would apply to any regulatory board such as the Board of Health. And those are what you should be guided by, not the reasonable use doctrine and not any of the other theories that are advanced. Not to say that those are bad theories or wrong theories not supported by law, but they're inapplicable in the face of enforcement of perfectly legal Board of Health regulation.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here this evening.
I'm now going to open this up to the Board of Health for discussion. First, I'd like to ask the board, and then I'm going to ask the professional staff, and then we can do some deliberation. I know that Dr. Saltzman, are you on?
I am, Mr. Chair. I have no questions.
Okay. I'll go around the board first. Andrea?
I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman, but I'd like to just kind of step aside from this because I live at 228 Fox Hill Road. And I am, you know, I've seen both sides of this story, so I don't feel I could be, I wouldn't be a good judge of character to weigh in a decision. So I'd like to just step back if possible.
Okay. Mary Beth?
I don't have any questions at this time.
Mr. McSweeney?
So I don't have any questions, I have an opinion, but I don't know if you want to take a vote first and then.
Well, I don't
open
think
up.
we're going to vote right now. I think we need to discuss this. Where we go from here. As I said earlier, that we have three options, actually four options. Option one is to find that and uphold the violation. Option two is to dismiss the violation. Option three would be to get more information. And option four would be and that would go along with the continuation. And that could be, we could do this, we could continue it through a number of steps. And maybe that's something that we should talk about, but what do you feel, Mr. McSweeney?
Yeah, so, I think there is, no ill intent here at all by any of the parties. You all seem like great people, and great neighbors, so I'm sorry that we're here, or that you're here. I'm sorry that I'm here. Kidding. You know, and I would hope and would strongly suggest that you try to rectify the situation, because I do think, and although the Negrones presented a timeline which was certainly interesting, it's not just the Rapucci's that are here complaining about the water issue, so that I do think there is a greater, or there was greater impact by what you did on your property. But that being said, I think there's ways to rectify this without having the board, you know, weigh in definitively on that. So, you know, if I was going to choose an option, you know, I would like to see us continue it and see if we can come up with a solution, or they can come up with a solution that could satisfy the board and the neighbors effectively. And if they can't, then we come up, then we take you know, a definitive vote on it. That would be my opinion.
I'll ask the professionals if they'd like to make comment before I make final comment, and then we can decide. But I'll first ask our environmental engineer, do you have anything else you'd like to add to the discussion?
No, it was in my presentation.
Thank you very much. Director of Public Health?
Yeah, so I just think that if the board does, and hopefully, again, I hope as well, that they can come up with a solution that would be suitable and agreeable to all of them. But if you do continue this, I think it would be beneficial in the meantime to monitor the situation and continue monitoring, because it is true, you know, if we go by the July pictures, that we did have a lot of rain in the month of July, and an unusual amount. And, you know, the other issue is, I think it's clear that the water was moving from the back of this area onto the Negron's property and draining somehow. And it was blocked. And the question really is, okay, how much of, that work contributed to the problem? So I think ongoing monitoring would be and for how long, I'm not sure, but I think if we're gonna continue it, we should go out there and
Yeah, I mean, the
take other looks at
continuation,
it.
the continuation should be monitoring, but also an aggressive plan on how to rectify. It's not just to continue, just to
Right.
delay.
Right.
So, I would love to see, the Negrones work with the neighbors and work, try to find a good solution that satisfies the situation, and we continue it, and they can work with us and, communicate with us what that, fix, the solution is, and we can continue to monitor it as well.
My issue.
But if they're not open to that, or if we think there's a cause that we should vote on it, then we should move forward with it.
Thank you.
Sure.
I think there's nobody, I don't think the Necrons did anything, malicious or whatever, I think that we're in the second highest amount of water, rain in the Commonwealth in recent history. It's another issue. I need more information because I need to get out there and take a look at it. And I'd like to hold a meeting of the board, should go out there and
I would agree with
just
you.
see that. I can't physically picture, and we've added now 243, we've added 5, another. I'd like to go out there and actually take a look at it. I'd like to also call the DPW, and I'd like to talk to Mr. Sanchez, that does the town allow the reconnection of those types of pipes that go into the
We just need a permit, but yeah.
Yeah, and I think, yes, you would have to get a permit. In this case, though, there's already a pipe coming out of there.
There's already pipe
So
coming
I'm
out.
not sure if they would need to get any additional
Problem is,
permission.
though, is
It's
that
already there.
the problem is they changed the grade, so there's not a low point any longer, right? So-
Right, the
so I
pipe
don't
is
know.
not being used, but it's there, so I don't know if they need to actually go try to get permission.
I mean, the other question would be to ask, once I go out there, to see where a drain would be placed. We got 4 properties here now. Who would want the drain on the lowest, in the lowest section, even if that would be allowed as a possible solution?
Can't do that because it's in Gucci's yard.
But is it on it's not on there either.
No, let me just finish. And then the fourth piece here is, is to ask if there's any way that the 3 or 4 neighbors are willing to work together to fix the solution. This is a very tough situation because of the history, what's going on now, the weather, and I have a lack of information, and I don't want to do the wrong thing. I don't.
I never got a chance to speak.
Well, I offered it to you.
I know I told you I would wait until everybody else was done.
Okay?
Please.
Come on up.
Come on up. I'll let you,
Come up.
sure. Please state your name.
My name is Connie Rapucci. I live at 3 Sumner Street. First of all, they say that fences make great neighbors. Unfortunately, in this case, it didn't work that way. And we have been good neighbors. We've tried. Kim was very right when she said when her babies were born, I brought presents over.
I
We
understand.
swapped Christmas cards. That's all very true, very accurate. But this water situation, I have not spoken to any of them. I've never met any of the Sullivans before. I've never spoken about this situation with Kim or Bob. Attorney Vita, who is Kim's father, I apologize, Christine, I've never met you before, but it looked like he was treating you as though you were on the witness stand. That was not fair to you, okay? We're not in court. the testimony that people gave. We are not in court, okay? You said that, that was your first statement. This is not a court,
That's correct.
yet it was treated as though it was one. Not by everybody, by one person, Attorney Vita.
Well, let's
Okay.
please not get into.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I understand, I
Had
understand.
his say.
We're trying to get everybody's opinion, and
All right.
people, this is an emotional issue as well as a
Oh, very much so,
emotion, and it's tough.
very much so.
It's,
When trees are, what do trees grow with? Trees grow with water. The reason there was no water there, other than the drain, was that there were all those trees there that used to suck up the water all the time. It never got a chance to puddle. The trees are gone. There's nothing sucking that water up anymore. Okay? You know, he said that this has been caused for decades. I've lived there 42 years. This is the first time it's ever happened this badly. Okay? A sump pump, we borrowed one. We don't have we're the only house of the 4 that does not have a sump pump. Okay? So this water situation is not a pre-existing condition, as was said. I want to know who asked for the survey report, because I have no idea who did it. If comments about his wife, no, I don't want that. I don't want that, no. Pictures showed the area. Yes, they did. We took pictures of the before and the after and the during. When Bob Negron mentioned to Jack, before this all took place, that he was going to take down the trees and do this, Jack mentioned the drain to him. I was standing there when Bob said, "I don't care." I defy you to tell me I'm wrong. I was there. If you're telling me I'm wrong, that means that it didn't happen, because I was there. Okay? It's a he said, she said situation, okay? It's very difficult, and you're right. It's an extremely difficult situation. I have no hard feelings towards anybody in this room, okay? But I live with Jack. I know he's been speaking with the Sullivans. I know Kevin came of his goodwill to say, this is what happened. I just want some kind of a remedy. You know, I'm tired of listening to all this. It's not fair. It's not fair to the Negrons. It's not fair to the Sullivans. It's not fair to us. Hopefully, the town will be fair in helping us resolve this.
Thank you.
That's all. Thank you.
And I thank you for coming up. I just wish it was an easy solution.
It's basically an easy solution. And I had a conversation, like I said, with a contractor, knowledgeable. That said, trying to move the water down at the low end on the Sullivan side is very, very difficult, because it would have to be pumped. There's no gravity feed, because towards Fox Hill Road, it goes uphill, so water puddles there. The solution is to stop it from getting from Bob's side of the fence into that area by putting a pipe up high, collecting the water, directing it into the drain that exists underground, and the problem is alleviated. Not me, this is a professional saying that.
That's-
Maybe another professional should be asked directly, someone other than Joe Pandolfo, another private contractor, and say, this is a situation, how would you resolve it? What's the best way to resolve it? Because personally, I don't have that kind of a background, and I don't know if anybody hip shoot, come up with a definitive plan. Maybe there's more than one plan, I don't know. So,
Christine, do you have records of other, contractors? No, yeah, but other, situations similar to this that other, members of the community have used to kind of resolve? Do we have similar cases to reference? What I think Jack, sorry to say Jack, Mr. Rapucci was calling a professional, do we have, from
I
previous?
mean, we can't
board-
recommend a professional. I
No.
mean,
No,
But
we
do we
cannot.
have other cases similar to this that we could go back and look as a team and?
We have not had this type of a case, of this type,
Okay,
of
I
this
didn't know if it was before me
magnitude,
being on,
this
my being on the board.
magnitude,
Okay.
of this magnitude in many, many, many years.
So, Mr. Chairman, I do think we're at a point where we're talking over and over about the same stuff, and I feel badly for these neighbors, because like I said, I do think they're
I
all
do.
good people, and I don't think there was malicious intent here. I guess the question for me is, does the Negrones want to try to rectify this, and you want to take the time to go figure out a solution, or do you want us to just vote on this and we'll take a vote, I guess is the question.
I think we have enough information.
We have all the information we need, Mr. Rapucci. That I need, anyway.
Just make one point, if I may. With all due respect, the situation didn't occur until the Negrons took the actions they did to modify the drainage in the area. So I'm not really sure why the other neighbors in the area have to have any sort of cost share or anything of that sort to try to remediate the situation, or have their land impacted, by having a drainage system in place on somebody else's land that had previously existed on the Negrons. So it seems to me like the solution should come from the Negrons as to how they wish their property to be affected by the solution.
That's what Mr. McSweeney just.
That's what I just asked them.
So the Negrons are willing to discuss a remedy, but it must be shared by these neighbors.
why?
Equally,
Why?
because of the pre-existing conditions.
Mr. Vito, we don't have any control over that. Alls we have,
I'm just saying,
that's up to you all, that's what we're hoping, that all of them can work together and find a,
I want you to know we are willing to
No,
discuss.
I don't think that unless we all have attorneys, we're gonna be able to work this out, because there is one attorney who's kind of pushing the whole agenda.
I'm talking about if a suitable contractor comes up with an acceptable solution, and the cost of it is $7,500, then three of us will share it. That's my willingness to work.
that has no bearing, hold on.
Please.
Please,
We
come on.
cannot do.
We gave everybody a fair chance to speak. We've given everybody an opportunity to speak, and we've been fair through this whole thing. We are not biased by anything other than the bylaw and what our environmental engineer observed. So that's it, that's all we're voting on. We're hoping, because you guys all have to live together after all this is done and over with, after we go home, you all have to live together. We're hoping that you folks can find a solution. Whether you want to share in the payment or not, like, that has no bearing on this board whatsoever. If you can't find a solution, or the Negrones don't want to adjust what they did to try to fix it, then we will take a vote. Again, this is just me personally speaking. We'll take a vote, and the board will either, side with what the facts that we already have.
We can, if the Negrons are willing, and I'm just as willing to look for a solution, I'm willing to continue this for one meeting and then for a vote, which would then I would I can't assume, but I would then would then force them into doing something. So I would like it to be, I would like to work this out, that they could do something to investigate a solution and hold us off for one meeting.
And if you can't come to an agreement, then we'll take a vote.
We'll take a vote. I'm sorry?
Is it anything different
Different than what we've heard?
already
Well, it's showing the Sullivan's acknowledging that there has been like a pre-existing condition. Water is not anything there.
Well, I think that,
I think everyone's agreed on
agreeing
that,
with
right?
that, water, I think we all agree that there is some pre-existing.
The question,
Yes, I understand. I think that everybody agrees that there was something there, but not to this level of.
Deemed casual water, if you will, use a golfing term. Water on the golf course, it means if there's a puddle of water, there's a rule, you can bypass the casual water. This is beyond casual water. This is absurdity. It goes 120 feet from his yard down into 5 Summer Street with the wood chips. That's absurd. That's not casual water.
There's no water there now. And this
There's no
water.
water now.
Okay,
It's not stagnant water, it's slowly seeping into the ground. It's got an
I
extraordinary.
have no access to my backyard without boots.
Okay.
Well,
all right,
let's stay
let's
together,
not-
please, let's stay together.
Thank you.
Mary Beth would,
Yep, I think I'm going back to what our chairman has said. One, what I don't see as a board member is I don't see pictures from previous years. Everyone has agreed, that you said, Ed, that there is some, but I don't see pictures from previous years. So as a board member, I agree with you. I think this discussion should continue. I think I don't have enough information. I know we have a couple of different options, so.
Dr. Saltzman, do you have comment?
I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr. Chair, to further investigate and have a definitive vote at our August meeting. This is, I think we have been extremely fair, and I think we just need to satisfy the board and move on.
I agree.
So, Mr. Chair, I will make a motion that the board further investigate this matter at 243 and the surrounding properties over the next, the interim between this meeting and the next board meeting, and that the board make a definitive vote on this issue as per the environmental engineer violation report, and that's it.
Ed, could I just
Do I have a second?
Could I add one thing?
Sure.
I think what you've made a great statement. I thought the same. Susan, you've said it. We've had a tremendous, more than, I don't know if it's over 100-year storm, a tremendous amount of rain. I'm wondering if we need to continue this past the August, just to do, as you said, the investigation, to do a little bit more monitoring, because again, what we're looking at today is pictures over the past year, 2020. So I think maybe following, a few more months.
Well, I think.
There's a motion on the floor.
There's a motion on the floor. We cannot.
If it's seconded, if it's seconded, great. If not, if it's seconded, then we can have further discussion as per Ms. Welch.
Sure.
Otherwise, if it's not seconded, then then the motion is void, and I would welcome a new motion.
Do we have a second?
Do we have a second to hold it for one?
Yeah, I think we should address it I'll second the motion to continue to the next meeting. I know this is not part of the motion, and I guess, I second it, so it's open for discussion now, so I'm gonna have a discussion.
I would be only in favor of that if we could go to the three, we could get permission we could get permission. I'm not gonna just hold on to this for 30 days and say, oh, isn't that nice? I wanna be able to go to your backyard. So the Sullivans agree, and the Mr. Rapucci agrees, and that is within
And
the
Negrons
minutes.
agreed too.
And, and
I would like to be there when you are there.
Of course.
of course,
Yes.
however,
It'll be
however,
pre-scheduled. It'll be pre-scheduled.
Absolutely.
But I do want to point out that August 21st or August 28th, I rented a house down the Cape. I have an entire family coming down for a meeting. So does that conflict with your?
It does.
The 28th is
So
our
do we
next
have,
meeting.
but we're back on full schedule.
Full
of-
Yeah,
schedule.
second and
September,
fourth Tuesday of
second weekend.
September.
Second week.
She came up from New Jersey. From New Jersey. Not the Cape.
Are the Negrons gonna be able to attend? Or you can attend remotely?
But my concern with that is still go on.
Well, we're at a rental house down Dennis. Maybe we can. I don't know if a month's time is enough to do all this.
What is the first meeting in
What is this,
September?
The September 14th and the 28th.
So Wayne, do you have an issue changing the motion to September 14th, the first meeting in September?
I don't. I don't, David. I am concerned about the fairness to the neighbors. So, I have no interest in catering to vacations and things like this. This has been going on for quite some time. We do have remote access. So, I do not have a problem with that, David, but I am concerned about the neighbors and respecting them as we respect the Negrons. So, I will, if that is if that's the consensus of the board, then I have no problem in amending my motion. But once again, we'll be doing so to cater to one party and not others.
Well, that would give you more time.
Right, if we do.
I'm gonna ask the Rapucci's, would you have a major conflict if we did it to the September 14th and then voted on it at that time?
Sounds like it's going further and further and further.
I will no longer, I would like to do that, but I want to make sure that I get to go there.
We're trying to give everybody a fair opportunity to resolve this on your own, and also give us time to.
I want to get out there, Mr.
review
Rapucci,
it, yeah.
the Sullivans, are you living there, Miss Sullivan?
But I'm a little, what I thought I understood him to say, that he didn't want to cater to vacations. And my
I don't-
brother is on vacation, and he left us to come up here. My sister came up from New Jersey here. We thought it was that important. We left my mother lying on a couch who's ill by herself to be here. So let's talk about fairness and
Susan, I was bringing it up, as you said, as the director, that you wanted to do some monitoring. So I thought that more of a month's monitoring. So we could pick the first session in September, but that's just my statement. May not be agreement with all board members.
Yeah, and I would like.
Not about people's.
I would like us to have the opportunity to go out there after it rains. So if it doesn't rain
Exactly.
between now
Right.
and
Right.
the August meeting, we're not gonna have a lot of evidence as far as how much it has dried up.
I would like a definitive vote either in August or the first week in first meeting in September. I don't want this to go any further.
Perhaps you could, I think Dr. Saltzman's motion said we were gonna vote on it in August. Perhaps you could have it on the agenda for the August meeting, and then you could always continue it
The vote.
again if you deem that so
But
to the next.
I just want to make sure that this will not go in any way, shape, or form, either for the Negrons or whatever. I don't want this to go further than the first week in September. And I know it's 5 weeks or so. I don't want it to go any further than that. If you feel, as our director, that we need that extra week, I'm willing to go along with that. However, I don't want it to go any further than that.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks.
And the reason why I don't, because if there is a vote to do something substantial, it has to take place in the fall. I don't want it to continue past that.
Right. So I think what we need is, we need an opportunity for the board to get out there to do a site visit so they can see the property, which can be done in the next week
And I
or
want them
so.
to be able to schedule and to be able to put it in their calendar that we will make a definitive decision on the 14th.
Right. And,
I'm a little bit concerned that we didn't realize we should have a lawyer for this.
You did not have to have a lawyer. Mr. Vida is, well, I'm not, is representing his family.
Yes. We know, but he's behaving like an attorney. And we have lawyers in our family too. Had we known that we needed that kind of defense, we would have brought one.
so that's up to you. I mean, that really bears no, we don't make decisions on that. That would be your own decision.
And I'm a little concerned that we're catering to the attorney and not the.
I don't think we're catering.
We're not at all.
We're not at all. We're catering to the fact that availability is the only thing I'm worried about, is availability. I just, it's availability. If you said to me, I'm gonna be on vacation, the meeting in August, I would do the same thing for you.
But there are 3 other families.
I think the initial request, Susan, as a board member, was more so that we needed to do additional investigation,
Yeah,
site
irrespective
visits.
of who's gonna be there.
Right.
I think that we need to have time for the board members to have a site,
Exactly.
be able to go on site. Really, the only one that needs to be there is Mr. Rapucci, because we have to go through his backyard to be able to see the rest of it. So we can let the other ones know when we're planning on having it and try to accommodate them, but we also have to make sure it's at a time frame when all the board members are able to attend.
Thank you.
So that's the first thing that has to happen. The second thing, which I think is important, is to make sure that we are out, Christine is out there again, more than once, to take a look at, is there water there now, especially in a regular rain season. So August, it could be dry. That's why I'm thinking, like, if we go into September, you might get a better picture if it rains in September. Like, what if we have all hot weather in August, and then we come back in August and you're really not able to make a decision on a regular rain event. So that's why I'm saying, because to your point, as to we really don't know how much was there. We're going by, what people are saying, but we don't know that. We don't have pictures from that.
Right, and we are balancing, as you said, a 5-member board and your staff. We have to schedule to get out there as well.
And I don't want.
So that is irrespective, what I'm saying is irrespective of anybody else's schedule.
I also want to make sure it's clear that we're expecting a solution to be presented to us if they can come to an agreement on a solution as well at the next meeting.
Yeah, so what
So
you.
we have to vet that as well.
What you could do as well is, you could put it on the August meeting, and if we get rain in that time, and if the board is able to get out there and see the site, all the board members are able to make a special meeting in that time frame, put it on the August meeting, ask the Negrones if they have actually looked into a contractor. Maybe you could do that, get some estimates as far as what this would cost, what work would need to be done. So we have an idea, other than what the neighbors have talked to, about what would need to be done on your property to solve the issue. And then they could, if they are able to get that, if they're willing to get that, they could come to the August meeting with that. And then if they're not able to get it, or they're not willing to get it, if they're, they could join us remotely, they could not come to the meeting, that's up to you. So this is their, and then, so hopefully you would be able to make that meeting. I think it's important that they are at the meeting. So that's why I think that the meeting in September would be a better choice.
Can I just ask one question? When you talk about evaluating the situation of the property, can you define what you mean by evaluating? Is it a technological assessment? Is it an investigation?
No,
No.
it's just observation, so it's the same thing that we've been doing, Christine is basing it on, how we made this decision to write the order letter. It would be after it rains, going out there, taking a look the day after it rains, and then maybe 2 days after it rains. How long is the water there? Is it longer than it would have been there previously? Because I know that Mr. Rapucci had said, yes, there was water there, it was a small puddle, it might only last a day, and it was gone the next day. Is it like that? In a regular, normal, rainy,
And I'm reticent, I am reticent about having an official board meeting in the back of Mr. Rapucci's yard because we would have to post it. I would like to come out at a rain event. Call Mr. Rapucci and come out with a rain event without having to post it.
so the board couldn't do that,
No,
we could do that.
I
Staff
would
could do
do
that, you could do that, yeah.
I would absolutely do that. I want to, or Mr. McSweeney, or my other two colleagues, my two colleagues here, Mary Beth Welch, Andrea Sheehan, we don't want to have, if we go out and more than two of us, we have to call a meeting and post it. I want to see it rain, and I want to call Mr. Rapucci and say, I want to come right now. And if he's not there,
You can still have my permission to go on if I'm not there.
that would be okay.
Go to 241 as well.
Okay, and that's, so I want to see a wet situation there.
What if there's no big rain event between now and then?
That's
Well,
why
that's why I'm saying that hopefully, but in the 6th week, there will be a rain event. Then it will be more difficult for the board to make a decision, although that doesn't mean that they won't or they can't.
Well, we have 6 months, 7 months of knowledge. It started in December, here we are at the end of July.
You do, but we don't. So we took our pictures in what,
My first visit was May 13th.
May 13th?
Yeah, so from May until July, May, June, July, 3 months. So we're gonna wait another 3 weeks, I mean, I don't know.
Mr. Rapucci, we really want to do this in a fair manner, and we want to satisfy everybody that we can, right? And I don't think, when this is not a life and death situation, I hope, and I hope an additional 2 weeks isn't going to kill anybody. I understand that you're impacted, and we want to solve that for you, we really do. And we just want to take our time to do our due diligence, and give you guys an opportunity to maybe solve it yourselves, if there is a solution.
If there is.
honestly.
And
If there was one.
we have given everybody here a chance to speak. It's 20 minutes of 10, we've been doing this for 2 hours. And we have been doing this, I want to be fair. We're an elected board, we're not experts, experts. My background is blood, all right? If you were bleeding, I'd have an opinion right now, all right? I'm sorry, but that's the way. I have to get out there and look at there, and I'm going to give the Rapucci, the Negrons, the same courtesy as I would give anybody else. Fair enough?
Sure. Well, I thank you for the time for discussing this subject. I really appreciate it. I know it's a quick question. Is there anybody on the town, employed by the town, who would be able to look at the situation technologically and present an assessment?
I'll ask my Director of Public Health. I want to know, first of all.
I can look into that and find out.
There we go.
That's going to be,
I don't know the answer to that, but
Yeah.
I can,
I would doubt it, but we
Yeah.
can ask the question.
Okay? I want everybody to feel that we did the right, and when we make a decision, we make a decision, but it is not. It is not going to go any further than that. Give us a couple of weeks.
I have a question, because your answer you gave to him, he's referring to a non-town employee, am I correct? Is that correct?
Anybody that has expertise.
oh.
How many other contractors besides Pandolfo do side work for the town?
Oh, so the
that
town
we
would
can't-
not.
No, the
No,
town
they
wouldn't
could
do
not,
that.
that would cost.
The town
that would cost
employs
money to the
engineers.
town.
The
Right.
town employs engineers,
Do we have
for
someone on
sure,
staff, Susan, you're gonna check,
that we
right?
could potentially ask, but I doubt they would wanna weigh in on this.
But yeah, I don't think that they would, and
Here's the
the town
situation.
would not hire someone to do it.
That kind of experience, learn how to control water, you know.
The town will not take that liability.
I don't realize, this is why I said something other than the town, so I was saying, someone similar to a Joe Pandolfo, who does this for a living.
There's we don't have anybody, access to anybody like that in the town, and what I'm hoping is that the Negrones, you know, hire somebody to take a look or ask somebody to give an estimate of what it would cost, maybe get a couple estimates of what it would get.
Here it is, we cannot legally say you need, pick somebody. We can't, what we say to you is, we will vote that there is a violation or there is not a violation. And then it's up to whomever to fix it. We're not gonna tell you how to fix it, because if we told you how and it didn't work, so we are still trying our best to be fair here, and I think we have. I mean, there are, you know, 10 or 11 people here tonight, and it's not easy. It's not easy for me, because I am not a civil engineer, and neither are my colleagues. But I will be in your backyard. I can guarantee. As you know, I'm the one that crawled in the middle of the reservoir one day to prove a point and to dig up some of the guck there. And I came into the meeting and they said, well, there isn't any guck there. And I brought in a plastic bag and I said, I stood in there and I got it. So, give us to the 14th, please. I ask everyone to give us to the 14th, and we will act on that date. All right? Do we need to remind them with an email that there is going to be a hearing on the 14th? Do I need to remind the Sullivans, the Negrons, and the Rapucci's?
We can email.
I'm sorry,
them.
sir. What is your name? Kevin Rumley. I'll get that done.
The agenda will be posted, you know, according to open meeting law on the town's website, and we
Okay.
can email them the copy of the agenda.
Would you have the?
Christine does.
I have
You
everybody's.
have everybody's email?
I have everybody's.
You all get email?
Yes.
I'm going to ask the environmental engineer to email you as a reminder. Fair enough?
We have to take a vote, we actually didn't vote.
Dr. Saltzman, would you amend your motion, please, for the 14th of September?
So amended.
Thank you so much.
Second.
I got a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I have 4.
Aye.
5-0. Thank you so much. I want to thank everybody. I hope you feel that we listened. That's all I can ask. We listened to everyone here. And we will go back and we'll take a look. And I have permission from the Negrons, I will call Mr. Rapucci, the Sullivans, and Mr. Rumley, if
Rumsey.
necessary.
Rumsey.
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 I have everybody's contact information.
I gotta get it that right. That I can go in your property, and if I call you and you're not there, I can just kind of take a look.
Absolutely.
All right? But I will make an effort to let everyone know when I come. I don't want to get, I don't want somebody to say, call the police and say there's a, 5'4" good-looking guy running around my backyard.
Just bring your badge.
All right. Thank you all for coming.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Well, we still have an agenda to finish. Staff reports, environmental engineer. Does anything have anything for our environmental engineer for this meeting or for meeting or information on the last meeting?
Staff reports.
Mr.
Can you guys take it outside? We still have to finish our meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Excuse me, can you go outside? Thank you.
We have to finish the meeting. Thanks.
One more time.
environmental engineer. Does anybody, do you have anything you'd like to say first?
I actually don't.
You?
I don't, I'm sorry.
I don't either.
I'm going to ask you this, a household hazardous waste day is.
September 18th,
Oh, thank you.
same place, same time.
I was gonna
September
ask you that
18th.
too.
Yeah.
That's if we survive September 14th.
And I just have one other one, the bottled water rebate program, was that your part of your report, or was that part of the director's report?
It's a bottled water rebate, that's not me.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other, Dr. Saltzman, do you have any questions for our environmental engineer?
Motion to approve the environmental engineer report.
Thank you. Do I have a
Second.
second? Second by Mary Beth Welch. All in favor?
Aye.
Now, the next staff report is the Director of Public Health, which that includes the supervisory nurse, the health agent, and the associate health inspector. And does anybody have any questions, as well as the Director of Public Health? Does anybody have any questions? First of all, do you have any?
Did he not hear me?
Kim, do you mind taking it outside? Thank you. Okay.
I know,
Oh.
I know.
Do you have anything to report?
The only thing I have to report, I just want to let the board know that we have a tentative date for the flu clinic, October 16th. I did clear that with Dr. Saltzman as well, so he'll be available. And we're beginning, the staff is beginning to work on that now. We're looking at the Memorial School and having it indoors there rather than the drive-through option.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Love the drive.
Does anybody have any
One
questions?
question, I saw the note on keeping of ducks.
I was thinking exactly. I was exactly.
Do we have a bylaw for that? Is it similar to chickens?
It would be under the animal, keeping of animals regulation, and, you know, I did have a conversation with the person, and I'm not sure that they were aware of everything that was involved in that, and I decided not to pursue it.
They decided not to pursue it. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a question, please.
Please.
So earlier today, there was a Board of Health call-in via Chris, our supervisory nurse. So when I received the call, it flashed on my phone as, quote, potential spam, no number. So I don't answer potential spam. And then I listened to the message, and the number that was related to the message was an 855 number. And obviously the message was Chris saying, please call this number to let us know you got this. So when I spoke to Chris, and Susan, she may have already spoken to you about this, but I said, you know, if you need an action event from individuals and it's not, and the information isn't clear so that someone can act on the information, meaning answer the phone and know it's coming from the Board of Health, it seems to me that that's a variable step in having success in trying to get the Board of Health to respond to something. So I don't know what can be done except to say that I would offer that there be some sort of solution that if there is a crisis or concern in which the Board of Health needs to aggregate, then there be a very identifiable number or resource that allows the Board of Health to respond in a timely and standardized way.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Saltzman. That's good to know. That's why we do these call-down drills, because we want to make sure that we can get in touch with everyone quickly. That's important information that you just shared. Should be in our written report on the call-down drill. That must have something to do with the code red system, because that's how we sent out the call. So that's something that we need to look at, something that we'll have to talk to the emergency management director about, as to why it's coming through as spam, number one, and then why it has this weird 1-800 number or whatever it is on it, when it should be saying from the town. So that's definitely something that we have to look at. Maybe it's the way that the code red message was sent out, maybe it needs to be sent out a different way, but we do need to look into that, so that's important.
The good side of that, or the good point of it, is that I got a call on my cell phone, I got an email, and I got a call on my home phone, right? So it's working, right? We just gotta fix, sounds like some of the
Yeah, so the
details.
same thing happened to you?
Yeah, I got,
Yeah.
No, I
I
got
got
it,
it
I got it
too.
too, but being as new as I am, I had no idea what this was about. And I'm
Did you
like,
respond?
no, because I was busy.
Okay, so.
Well, I had no idea, it didn't say it's from the town of Burlington, it just said,
Yeah, it just
this
says-
is
Did you get a
EDS
message
drill.
at some point, though? You got a message at some point?
It was a voicemail, or,
Yeah.
my
Yeah, I got a voicemail and an email.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you listen to the voicemail? No? 'Cause you're too busy.
No, I read it,
Oh, oh.
and I'm trying to make heads or tails of it, because I'm like, I don't even know why I got this, and I don't understand it, because it's not, doesn't say anything to do with Burlington, and I don't know the name that it references, this Chris.
That's
Oh.
Chris, she's our nurse.
She's our nurse.
Our supervising nurse.
Okay.
you've not met her in person yet.
No, no,
Oh, that's true.
so, okay, so,
Maybe one's on WebEx, but I don't even know if she hasn't been to a meeting in a while.
Good to know.
So that's,
No, but I mean-
that's important information to know, and I will make sure we look into why that happened.
Susan, is there any other question from you, Dr. Saltzman?
No, thank you.
I have you have any questions? Do you?
I'm good, thanks, Ed.
You all set?
I'm all set, thank you.
I have one question. The bottled water rebate that we receive for PFAS because of the people who are,
Oh, is that a program from the DPW?
yes.
Yes,
Could we place that on our website, please?
sure.
Thank you.
There must be, we can put a link, it must be on their website, I would assume, and
and
we'll look.
they
There
get
it isn't?
I don't know,
Okay.
it's the first I'm hearing of it.
We'll look, and we'll look into it.
Look,
Okay.
I do read all this, and
I was a little concentrated on my stuff for tonight.
I don't know why. I have nothing else, except the parade was nice.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, how was the
That
parade?
was
Did it go
actually,
well?
I went. It was nice, you guys did a great job.
Yeah, it wasn't fun.
No other questions? Can I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
No,
Oh.
motion to approve.
Oh, to approve, so moved.
Second.
Motion to adjourn.
Second by Dr. Saltzman. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, Dr. Saltzman seconded. All in favor? Aye. 5-0. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Good night, Wayne. Enjoy Maine. Are you in Maine?